So in 2013, in May, my dad diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Mm-hmm. I remember getting a call from my mom. I was laying in bed with my wife at the time, and they had just got back from a trip, and Dad was sick, like jaundice. Is a 50-year-old's fucking weird, or 60, for that matter.
It's like they turn yellow, right?
Yeah.
So they put light on them to.
Yeah, he turned yellow, and so he's having issues with his gallbladder, and so they figure out that he's got a mass on his pancreas, and like no one is saying cancer at that point, probably fear, right? And I remember looking it up, and like the first thing I Googled with pancreatic cancer, I was like, that's what killed Steve Jobs. And I'm like, fuck, we're probably not gonna get out of this one. Like if that guy's resources don't take care of sorting that problem out, and that guy's healthy and does all these things, I don't think we're gonna make it. And pancreatic cancer is a 5%, survival rate. And so 11 months later, Dad sick and dead. And he passed away the day before my 31st birthday. He died at 62, and I turned 31 the next day after he died, and it just sent up the biggest alarm flag for me of like halfway.
Yeah, what am I doing?
You're fucking halfway through your life. That, man, it's so easy to be like, everything up to this point has been a flash. And so I have to feel the other half will be the same. Like that's how it's gonna go. That's how the memory will work. And that translates out to like 1,612 weeks is what 31 years of life looks like. And looking at it that way, all my dreams, all my adventures, all the things I want to see and experience and know have to happen in the next 1,612 weeks. They have to. That's it. That's all the time you get. You can't bargain for it. I can't buy any more of it. And like, man, that's the best case scenario is get another half of life.
Dude, we all have the best time ever to start a small business.
If I'm not going to be 100% in, I'm not going to do it.
Come on, man, just be yourself.
Yeah,
and just show up as yourself.
If you don't realize what I'm really about, I'm about freedom, family, and my country.
Matt Vincent.
What's up, man?
Thank you for gracing me with your presence.
Thanks for having me, dude. It's been a great day.
I have, in the business world, been forced to in many occasions, and then also just in my own search of like learning people, met a lot of people. And I would say you're probably one of the, the top 5 interesting people.
Fuck yeah, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
That's absolutely the goal.
Yeah, and I enjoyed our conversation all day.
Same, man. It's been great. It's been great. I haven't got to spend a lot of time up here. And there just is a completely different vibe and perspective and everything to it. So it's love. I love getting to hear it and see, especially coming from your world, right? Like, I don't have any experience in finance or any of those things. And so even seeing people operate there is interesting.
Yeah. And that's what this is all about. Like, how do I, and for the viewers that are your fans that are going to watch this, I like to just do a little homework. Fireside started because I was a kid that didn't do well in school. I was troubled back then, really have a lot of personal development since then. But along the way, I didn't have a ton of help. No one was really willing to turn around and help people. So once I hit a certain threshold of income where I felt like I had some type of financial freedom, I wanted to turn around and help people. And the podcast and Fireside is just a vehicle for that. And you embody everything that it's about, right? Going and getting freedom, leaving the corporate machine and going out and living whatever it is that you want to live. No judgment, right?
Right.
And you do that. You come from the oil world. You were doing outside sales. You were driving crazy long hours to go to meetings, late nights, early mornings, on top of doing the Highland Games, which you obviously thrived at. You were a world champion. So you embody everything Fireside is about. So that is one of the main reasons, after meeting you and being introduced through Keaton and Chris, after seeing your content, I wanted to have you on. So again, thank you for coming and showing up.
Yeah, thank you, man. Like I said, I love getting to do this. I started in 2008 whenever I was still doing outside sales, right? Like I would book meetings. Like if I was going to be going to Ohio and I had meetings in Toledo and had meetings in Lima and meetings somewhere else, I would pick my hotel in Columbus because I could train and be around people I wanted to learn from, whether that's guys at Westside or Jim Wendler or Dave Tate with Elite FTS. And I would pick a place there and then do a 4-hour out and back for meetings because the priority was that time.
Yeah.
That I got to interact and learn from these people one-on-one that I was really interested to get information from. And ever since, I've continued. I travel to people. I want to exist in their universe and learn from them there, not in a different sterile place.
Or a comfortable place.
Yep.
So I want to walk you back before we get too much in the Highland Games. Grew up in Louisiana, graduate of LSU.
Yeah.
Right? What you did
At some point.
At some point. You did do shot put and hammer and everything else in college, correct?
Yeah, so
as well as high school.
After high school, went to Baton Rouge, moved to LSU, and pursued track and field at LSU. Shot put, discus, and hammer was very average at the three of them. It was great. I didn't get along with a coach. I didn't perform at a level I probably could have if I was as smart or disciplined or into it as I am now. But college in Baton Rouge was a good time.
Yeah, you live and learn.
I had distractions.
Yeah, well, you live and learn too.
You do. Also, it's not like I was gonna go to the Olympics. I knew that wasn't a level of ability I had. So
after you left there, when did you say, hey, I want to get into this Highlands Games? And for those people who don't know what that is, because I didn't when I first was introduced to you, explain what the Highland Games is.
So the Highland Games is a strength sport. Scottish heavy athletics is kind of what it's traditionally known as. It originated in Scotland where clans would compete after the English took their weapons. So they found out a new way to train with farm equipment to stay still ready for battle, and then would challenge each other's clans in competition. There are 9 events. There are 2 stones that we throw like a shot put. There are 2 weights we throw for distance that are kind of a block on the end of a chain with a ring, and you throw it with one hand. There's 2 hammers we throw for distance.
How heavy are those things?
So these stones, you have a heavy and a light of each one of the distance events. The light stone is 16 pounds. The heavy stone is up to about 28. You've got the weights. The lightweight is 14 pounds. The heavy's the light one's 28 pounds and the heavy's 56. And then the hammers are 16 and 22. Then you throw a weight for height over a bar. That's 56 pounds. You throw the caber, which is kind of the one everyone knows. It's a big telephone pole. And then you have the sheaf. It's a bit more of a common American event, but it's a 20-pound burlap bag that you throw for height over a bar with a pitchfork. So I traveled around for a decade with a pitchfork.
That's safe.
It's my pitchfork. I don't want to throw someone else's.
So what made you really want to get into that? Like, what pulled you in?
So I knew it existed after college. I think as a thrower, you're just aware of its existence a bit, but it is one of those things of like, how do you do that? After college, I opened a bike shop and didn't train for a while, and then about 2007, I started kind of lifting again, got into strongman, got into powerlifting. I met a guy in Baton Rouge, Mark Cumming, that had strongman equipment. And so I started training with him. My brother had got into it. And then as we were just picking sports and trying it and going to compete, there was a Highland game an hour and a half from my house in Louisiana. We signed up for and went to compete as amateurs. I won the amateur contest and threw pretty well. And then went to hang out the next day with the guys who were competing in, I guess, like the bigger class, right? Like at that game is called North-South. And so it's a competition between like the 10 best throwers from the North, 10 best throwers from the South, and they do kind of a team thing. So I hung out with those guys and got to know them, and then figured out where more competitions happen and where information can be found. And so I started traveling and competing and loved it immediately and never really went back to powerlifting or strongman.
Is that where you started to like kind of find your love for like all these different cultures and the travel that you enjoy doing now, or you force yourself to do now, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, we got to travel so much with track and field in college, so like I knew I enjoyed that. And I was getting to travel a little bit with work. Like I like going.
Mm-hmm.
And so having a sport that had competitions around the country was great.
Yeah.
And then actually loving the travel part of being places and finding new restaurants and experiences and checking out the history stuff. I dig all of it, yeah.
Yeah.
I like landscapes a lot more than I like stuff we've made.
Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah.
So how long did it take until you were the world champion in that sport?
So first, I did my very first game in November of 2008. And then 2009, I kind of did a whole season. So maybe like 10 or 12 games. 2010, did a full season. I won an amateur world championship. In 2011, I won an amateur world championship that got me an invite to the professional world championship.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons I stuck around as an amateur an extra year is they were kind of advertising the winner of this thing gets an invite to Pro Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And Highland Games is it's a weird sport, man. Like there's no federation or real rules.
Yeah.
And so it's
kind of like them just
it's a
doing
lot of
whatever they
old
wanted.
boys network and it's a lot of who you know. And so like Worlds can be a real hassle to get an invite to. There is some basis on how far you're throwing, but it isn't for sure the full puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that got me an auto invite if I could win amateurs, and I thought I could. And I expected to have like a full year to train to get ready for Worlds, and they were like, nah, it's in 2 weeks.
Oh, damn.
And so I went as my first, professional game and took second at Worlds, threw really well, threw 5 PRs in 9 events, and gave it hell. And kind of from that point on, I was number 2 in the world.
Oh, shit.
And so that took care of anything I needed to worry about getting invites.
Yeah.
That was loud enough that I didn't have to play much of the politic game.
Mm-hmm. Now, at this time, as you started to, just like any sports or athlete who is doing well in that sport, you start to get the sponsors, you start to get the eyes. At that point, did you start to realize the relationships that you could start to build relationship capital with and then monetize later? Or did you not realize that yet and you just said, hey, this is cool, they want to sponsor me or help me? And
dude, I started cold calling sponsors. I had that background from the outside sales thing, so cold calling, it's not like that bothers me or some offense. So
that's what I want to talk about too, not to cut you off. At the same time, you were working in the oil industry doing sales.
Yeah, doing outside sales for a decade. That job started in 2009. I got fired in 2017.
Yeah, so you were doing that while training for these games.
Yeah, the whole time I competed, I had that job.
Yeah.
I started cold calling sponsors, and I just started calling people that were making supplements or products that I was already using and trying to figure out a way to sell them on it, right? That like I can produce content, I can do this, I'm already have a blog that's getting this amount of views. That started from a blog that went into a book that became apparel, and then the YouTube stuff and everything else.
Watch your eyes with these ash. You look authentic over there. You're getting all the ash on you.
It's great. I look ashy as fuck. Little ashy Larry over here. Like I'm getting snowed on. I started cold calling sponsors. I picked up a supplement sponsor. USP Labs was my very first. And shout out Casey Bard. The guy hooked it up. They started sending me product. And this was like back, I don't know if you were working out during that stretch, but there's a pre-workout supplement called Jack 3D.
Yeah, I remember it.
And so that was my sponsor. That shit was cocaine.
Yeah. Pre-workouts are crazy.
Especially then, before we got rid of ephedra and got rid of any of the DMAA.
Yeah.
That was fun. And then I got made fun of by a bunch of the other Highland Games guys because, I had sponsors on my kilt. I looked like a fucking NASCAR.
But you needed the...
Fucking why not?
Yeah.
I'm trying to make some money doing this, man. If people want to pay me to do the thing I'm already into, that sounds great.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Especially if I can benefit them, if I can show value, if I can be a valuable resource to these companies, because content creation is expensive.
Extremely.
And so I can shortcut that for you. It's cheaper to pay me $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm. So at what point did you finish doing the games? 2016.
So I finished up second in the world in 2016. and then went in for a planned ACL surgery to fix my knee. At this point, it had been getting worse. I fucked it up in college, got it fixed, and then fucked it up again. And didn't fix it for a long time. And so after competing on it and lifting heavy for a decade, it just worn out and wasn't really extending anymore. And I couldn't, if you can't extend the knee, I can't push the hip, I can't finish a throw. And so, cool, let's fix the ACL, let's rehab for a year. This also gives me like a year of really good content to create. Like I got it, right? Cool, we'll take the year off, we'll create content, go back and win another Worlds. Just doesn't go that way. And so like, filming content and showing rehab, going in for another surgery. Filming content, showing rehab, going in for another surgery.
Now for the nuggets, I want to take you back. For those who are watching who are trying to do something similar that you and I are doing, and you have done much longer than I, at what point did you say like, hey, we should start filming everything that we're doing? At what point was that?
I mean,
I know you were filming like your car rides. I went way back on your YouTube.
Yeah,
you were
so
like filming your car rides.
Yeah, I mean, I started filming originally to post throws videos on the Highland Games site, this NASGA website that there was a message board a bunch of us were on, talking about training. Yeah, trying like hell, right? And then at some point I started uploading them to YouTube because it was just an easier place to give people a link to look at it. Other people started watching it, and then I started talking to the camera, answering questions, doing this or that, and it just kind of continued to go. And I enjoyed doing it. That turned into kind of daily vlogging, maybe 2010? Something like that, where I traveled with a camera, multiple lenses, I traveled with a drone, everything, and I would edit on the road and upload by 8 a.m. for 2 years.
No shit.
Yeah.
So you're doing it all yourself?
All myself, yeah.
At that time, did you ever believe that that was going to give you financial freedom per se to go live the complete life that you wanted to live? Or you weren't even thinking that at the time at all?
At that time, no.
Yeah.
At that time, look, because I know YouTube exists and I know people making money from it, I'm aware it's a possibility.
Yeah, you just weren't thinking there.
And look, I've never made money off of YouTube. Like, my channel's got 40,000 people and it doesn't pay anything.
Yeah.
But I like making the content there because it drives to the apparel brand.
And the social media.
Everything else, right? Which is where I
Your
can
ecosystem.
get paid, right? It wasn't till probably 2016 where I was like, oh shit, I could do this for a living.
And that's where you kind of launched the 1612 group.
No, that wasn't until like last November.
Last November you
Yeah.
launched that.
Yeah, that's brand new.
But you started, when did you start Hate Brands?
2014.
Yeah, during.
Yep. So I had written a book early on called Strength Lab about training for the Highland Games. No one else had put out a book, so I put one out. Another way to make money, right? I knew at some point like I'd not be able to throw anymore, and like that would come to an end. And because I was making a little bit of cash on the side throwing, I was trying to figure out a way that side cash would continue to come in even when I don't have to throw anymore. And so I was trying to make a couple bucks selling books just to like lessen the blow of whenever retirement happens. Because I'd seen it in other guys that'll hang on to the sport too long because it's easy money. Yeah, we started trying new stuff. So I put that book out. I wrote another one the next year that was more of a like how to do each one of the events, and so like frame by frame shot them and broke down how to throw, and then how to like build programming for throwing for the Highland Games, because it's different than powerlifting or strongman. It's not as heavy, it's more explosive. You're also going to compete 23 or 20 times a year. It's different than competing only 4 times. And then I wrote a general strength version of training called Strength Lab the following year.
How'd they do?
They did okay. At that time, it was amazing.
Yeah. What would you make off the book sales in total?
I think like at the most maybe $2,000 a month, and still they make $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And have for a really long time.
Yeah.
So that was working, and one of the things I wrote about in there was the philosophy, the hate, this thing I had. And it was, my brother and I had always brought it up, and it originated talking about athletes, and it was guys like this Jerry Rice and these top performers, right? That no matter what, these are veterans in 20 years in the NFL and Pro Bowlers that you still hear are getting up at 4 a.m. and going to run routes and practice and do all this shit that's unconventional to get better. I know when that guy gets up in the morning and sees himself in the mirror, he fucking hates himself more than I do.
Why would you say that?
Just that drive forward. And like hate himself at that point, I just mean like, this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
We are not content with where we are.
Yeah.
There's room to get better.
Perfectionist.
And if there's room to get better, I want to get better. And I looked at that, admiring like that in athletes, that took care of the discipline, that took care of any of it, of the excuses why not to be my best. And then after the books, enough people, between that and the blog, enough people started asking for t-shirts. We started making shirts.
And that was the hate brand that you launched at the time?
That's Hate Brand. We launched in 2014, and then we rebranded like 4 or 5 days ago to Not Dead Yet.
Yeah.
And so now everything's under that umbrella.
So I'm going to move you forward to 1612.
Yeah,
Not
the
Dead
origination
Yet,
story there.
and really the origination of that. If you could share that a little bit with us. I know that's a personal story.
Yeah. So in 2013, in May, my dad diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. I remember getting a call from my mom. I was laying in bed with my wife at the time, and they had just got back from a trip, and Dad was sick, like jaundice. Is a 50-year-old's fucking weird, or 60, for that matter.
It's like they turn yellow, right?
Yeah.
They put light on them to...
Yeah, he turned yellow, and so he's having issues with his gallbladder, and so they figure out that he's got a mass on his pancreas, and like no one is saying cancer at that point. Probably fear, right? And I remember looking it up, and like the first thing I Googled with pancreatic cancer, I was like, that's what killed Steve Jobs. And I'm like, fuck, we're probably not gonna get out of this one. Like if that guy's resources don't take care of sorting that problem out, and that guy's healthy and does all these things, I don't think we're gonna make it. And pancreatic cancer is a 5% survival rate. And so 11 months later, Dad sick and dead. And he passed away the day before my 31st birthday. He died at 62, and I turned 31 the next day after he died, and it just sent up the biggest alarm flag for me of like halfway.
Yeah, what am
You're
I doing?
fucking halfway through your life. That, man, it's so easy to be like, everything up to this point has been a flash. And so I have to feel the other half will be the same. Like that's how it's gonna go. That's how the memory will work. And that translates out to like 1,612 weeks is what 31 years of life looks like. And looking at it that way, all my dreams, all my adventures, all the things I want to see and experience and know have to happen in the next 1,612 weeks. They have to. That's it. That's all the time you get. You can't bargain for it. I can't buy any more of it. And like, now that's the best case scenario, is get another half of life.
It's so crazy when you think about it that way, because when I found your page through Kristen Keaton, I was like, damn, like what if, my grandfather, I think, passed away at 65. My father is, thankfully still alive at 65, but I don't think his lifespan is long. My dad's very unhealthy. Genetics, not that that's an excuse, environment, whatever it may be. I don't know how long he has. And I am 36 now. And I was like, wow, how, let's say I have 1,600 weeks left in a year. What memories am I making for my family and myself? And I think it was one of the trips that you had done with your group, 1612, which is your group, correct?
Yeah, so the group is Not Dead Yet Life now. We just pulled everything under
one brand
umbrella.
But you had taken somebody to a hike, and you were talking out in the woods, and they had captured you in a raw moment saying, guys, think about how much more your brain will remember this memory because you were in a different place.
You're present.
You're present. It's forcing you to be present. And that happens to me. When I go to the mountains, if I've been to the mountains before versus being here on a weekend, that weekend can roll by just like another weekend where I was busy with the kids and...
Routine.
Yeah.
So like I really took awareness to that when I was hurt. And so 2 years after Dad's passed away, I'm stuck at home with knee surgery after knee surgery after knee surgery. A bunch of those were 8 weeks with like no toe touch pressure.
8 knee surgeries you had. 8.
9 if we count the total knee replacement.
9, all right, 9.
Yeah, and so like, sitting around for 8 weeks, like those 8 weeks would pass and I don't have anything to tell you that fucking happened. I went and got on the assault bike and pedaled and went back and laid on the couch and got in the hot tub when I could and got in the cold tub and then I laid on the couch. And I journaled a lot. I wrote a lot during that time because I was really planning on sharing what rehab looked like to getting back to winning. Mm-hmm. And so I'm doing a daily write-up. And it's another knee surgery, and it's another knee surgery. And at some point, like it had gotten bad enough with the chronic pain that I can't walk more than about 200 yards a day. And like the realization starts setting in that, we're not talking about getting back to competing anymore. We're talking about getting back to functional. And I was fucking terrified. I was fucking terrified of it, dude. I had never, I'd fully planned to not be an athlete, or I planned to not compete in the Highland Games, that I didn't plan to not be athletic anymore and not be functional and not be able to go up and down stairs or any of that. And
what did that do to you and your thought process?
I knew I had to find a solution for that pain. Otherwise, like I know I'm not gonna ride the rest of my life out like that. I know at some point it'll win. I'll get too depressed and I'll call it. And so at that point, right, like if I know that's the other side of not figuring out pain, then I'm willing to try everything. And that leaned into figure it all out, start trying stuff, start looking at how to get things done, how to do more, how to be more present. Because in those 8 weeks that would pass, I don't have anything to tell you. It all is there, poof, gone. Mm-hmm. But if I was traveling and somewhere new, I have so many things I can tell you about, like this 10-day trip in Iceland. Mm-hmm. Because I'm present and I'm in a new environment and my brain has to pick up so many more new things. And
it's on high alert.
High alert, right? And so my memory is bigger of those 10 days than it is the 8 weeks that I spent on the couch.
It's like capturing more clear picture that gets stored at the top of the file versus all the way down at the bottom.
And if that's the case, then I need to be doing more things that keep me present. That's how I slow down time. That's how I buy more memories. That's how I get to reflect back and go, holy shit, we did a lot.
It does slow down time. Just a quick reference point for everybody. Your work day. I could get up at 5:30, go do my workout, do what we did this morning, sauna, cold plunge. Shout out to AJ for allowing us to do that over at Thrive.
That place is great.
That was great. And the day goes by so fast. Before you know it, it's 7 o'clock, and I'm like, did I spend at least 2 hours with my kids? And am I going to spend an hour with my wife watching a show?
Right.
When I'm away, it's like, damn, this day is long, right? You start saying, shit, I've been with the kids, I did my walk, and I think time slows down when you put yourself in that uncomfortable space or whatever you want to call it. Why do you think more people don't do that?
I think it seems really counterintuitive to our culture to choose discomfort. I think a lot of our culture got brought up on the ideas that comfort is success, right? That if you're success, you don't have to work. And that the value of that isn't in the work, it's in the results. Mm-hmm. And I haven't found that to be true. I typically find a lot more happiness in pursuit of a thing. And while in pursuit of something, I'm pushing comfort, right? Because I'm trying to grow or get better at a thing. And if I want my muscles to get stronger and if I want to throw further, I have to kind of push a limit, right? Like I have to tap something that creates enough stress that my body needs to adapt to it. Everything would operate that way from us. Our brain, our ability to handle context of conversation or anything, because I'm exposed to more, I can deal with more. But it has to be a choice to walk toward that because our built-in system doesn't give it to us. Like there isn't anything that demanding in my day-to-day life.
We go to safe mode. comfortable.
I live in
mode.
it's very easy for me to even stay in a completely climate controlled place. Like as a species, it's been very recent that someone could essentially never leave 70 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
People do it all the time. And that doesn't make you any better at handling temperature extremes,
No.
right? So the exposure's part of it. We learned a lot that comfort's ideal, anxiety is bad. Anxiety is a tool.
When used and controlled properly.
Anxiety means I give a fuck about the outcome. It means I'm scared of it. It means I have some built up expectation of how I think this will go.
Mm-hmm. Assumptions.
And so I'd rather now kind of, if something pops up that really scares me, like, it means like, so we got to go do that now.
Yeah, you really embody that. And that leads me to like the psychedelics and the mushrooms. And you used to be a guy who drank. You're not against someone who's
No, I don't care.
a drinker, but you really said, how do I become more aware of myself? How do I unpack things of how I kind of assumed it or was taught it in my traditional beliefs?
Originally, I went into it to try to get out of pain.
So you went to him for pain.
Yeah, so originally cannabis was the first real move, and trying to use that instead of opiates, and I got a lot of benefit from it. And then had a lot of fear about cannabis based on growing up with Just Say No and Dare and any of this other stuff, and believing that this would ruin my fucking life and make me a loser and all these other things, and none of that's true.
Yeah.
If you're a loser, I don't think it's great for you. But I think if your shit's together, it's a tool like anything else. But it on its own isn't inherently good or bad. It is what it is. And so
It's how you utilize it.
kind of after those doors got blown off for me of like, holy fuck, that whole thing's a lie. Well, what else have I been lied to? Then I have to experience it all on my own to find out. And because I have an interest in whatever it was, I would lie to tell you that at whatever point in my life I found out psychedelics existed, to be like, oh, no way. Of course I'm interested. See stuff? Okay.
Yeah, you were about that.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought it was as useful as it is, but first times I did mushrooms was probably the first time in like 4 years that my pain level went to a 0.
So mushrooms really helped with the pain of the knee.
It did for me. It did
Do you
for
think
me.
because you forgot about the pain?
Who cares?
Because you were in a...
Maybe.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, maybe, right? But
you
even
were
when I would
thinking
sit and
about
try
other
to
shit.
look at it and focus on my knee, like I don't feel it. And the other part of what it did was, so with the chronic pain piece, I don't really have a background with depression or any real chronic thing. But it was probably the first time that I'd experienced something that like I couldn't get away from. And like pain always being at a level 3, I describe it like someone's walking around tugging at your shirt sleeve all day asking for your attention. You can still go do shit, but that person's still over there going, hey.
So you hung out with Colton for 8 hours? My son?
Perfect, right? But even when you give it attention, it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
And so things are great. You're at a place, you're around people and social, and then you go home. Hey, that voice is there. And it just beats on you forever. And so I was looking for ways to not have that voice.
Yeah,
Being
so
in
you
the
were
cold
willing
plunge.
to try anything.
Yep. Being in the cold. Look, I know where this goes if I don't figure it out. So what's the risk of trying? Try the cold plunge, and I realized being in the cold, I couldn't hear whatever that noise was.
Yeah,
Because
because
you can't exactly live in there.
You gotta focus on your breathing.
real tough.
Cold as fuck.
Yeah, I would get.
That was cold this morning. I never do sauna to tub.
Yeah. So I would get like 3 to 5 minutes of a break while I was in it. But as soon as I was out, the knee was back on. And then with mushrooms was the first time, like with cannabis, it's still there. I just don't notice it. But with mushrooms, I felt like my brain got a vacation from the noise. And that was a really interesting feeling to wake up with the next day of like, holy fuck, I was actually out of, like my body's CNS system feels like it wasn't guarded and in pain for the last however many hours.
So why do you think it's such a negative stigma on it if it could do that for, again, it may not do it for everybody. Everybody's body's different in the way it reacts to things. Why is it such a negative context around marijuana?
We outlawed it in the 60s, man.
Yeah.
Say no to drugs. We put up a ton of money and a ton of information into propaganda to prove how bad all these things are.
Why? What your opinion?
Why did we? In my opinion. So the war on drugs starts with Nixon, right? Like in the 60s. What's going on at that time? We have kind of a psychedelic revolution happening a bit. Timothy Leary's kind of getting after it and sharing a lot of stuff.
People are waking up.
Whatever we want to call that. Mm-hmm. People are following a different narrative than the standard one, right? Those aren't people really interested to go fight wars anymore. Those aren't really people interested in falling in line with what the major thing says to do. Those people get really unpredictable as far as trying to run a country goes.
Yeah, now making sure they fall to the narrative.
Yep, so we declared they were bad, there would be war on it, we made extreme sentences for nonviolent things.
And we propped up more alcohol.
Yep, and we crushed it. We crushed it for a while, and we spent a long time convincing people of how bad they were. When my only bitch isn't that I wish it was legal or recreational or whatever it is. I just wish we would have continued studying it. Because prior to the 1960s, we're seeing giant progress in eliminating PTSD. We're seeing giant progress in LSD helping alcoholism and all of these things. The same stuff we're seeing now through MAPS and all these other companies that are studying it, or the Johns Hopkins studies.
The CIA was
but the government
utilizing it
down.
As well, right?
Yeah, the MK Ultra thing's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know full truth there, but there's wackiness, right? There's a lot of wackiness with it. I mean, from the MK Ultra piece to Charles Manson. I mean, the drug thing, right? It's a tough one. I mean, we have plenty of cultures now on Earth where everything is decriminalized, and you can focus on the mental health aspect, right? Like the drug addiction part is a symptom of a bigger picture. I'm not saying I want everyone on drugs, but what I'm saying is I don't want to arrest people who are already fucked up. Mm-hmm. I would rather figure out how to get people help and sort out the mental health thing. And if there's anything out there that's a tool, we should try to study it.
Well, I do know, maybe it's due to the Rogans of the world, but there's a lot more openness about it. A lot more people that are like, you roll into a backyard and they're like, oh, you want a microdose today? And you're like, all right, that wasn't around just 5-10 years ago.
No, it's
it was
changed
like,
a lot.
You want a Coors Light, you want to smoke a blunt, or you want to have a cigar.
Yeah, it's changed a lot in culture. I mean, we've seen it now recreational in Colorado. We're seeing it in the Pacific Northwest, and we're seeing places. I think MDMA right now is like in the last round of FDA for clinical, not for clinical, but for therapeutic setting.
I don't know if it's MAPS, but I know the MDNA and as well as psychedelics, they are doing a lot of big pharma studies on depression, PTSD, which was never...
Sorry if I feel weird about big pharma getting involved.
Of course, yeah, especially in the U.S.
So is this bad, or is it a thing you hadn't figured out how to profit on?
Yeah, profit, right? In my eyes, or opinion.
Psychedelics are cheap, man. Mushrooms grow all over the planet.
Yeah. You
can't regulate it.
Yeah. Well, same thing with marijuana.
Same thing with marijuana.
The funny thing with me, with weed, is just like, you let's just say, per se, you shouldn't be driving high all day. You shouldn't
be doing anything too fucked up.
Yeah, you shouldn't be too fucked up on drinking all day.
Yeah, all the same rules apply.
But it's so funny because some of the people out there will drink to the, slurring their words on a weekly basis, but the minute you talk about smoking weed, they are judging you. And that social acceptance is seeming to shift and change now. Finally, it's like, wait, I think smoking weed's way healthier than drinking on a weekly basis.
Now that the states have figured out how to make a bunch of money off of it,
100%.
which is even cooler, right? Because they figured out how to make money on both sides of it, with keeping people locked up and now making it legal to sell and tax at 40%. It's fucking incredible.
Yeah, there's a lot of smart people in the government, right?
Yeah, would you say they operate maliciously?
Malicious intent, absolutely. You're talking to a guy who's always thinking outside the box, so I'm not going to disagree.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan.
As you were doing all these things to make your pain go away, you found this like soul-searching journey of like, what do I want to do, combined with what went on with your dad. You launched the Hate brand, which is now not dead yet. That's really the overall brand.
Yep.
I want to talk about your business, mechanics and how you have this set up, right? A lot of people would wish that they could live a lifestyle that they desire to do. So walk people through your daily routine, especially in the morning.
And let's preface it that my daily routine now looks like this after running a business for the last 9 years.
Correct, yes.
Right, so like I've been able to buy myself freedom to do more of the things that keep me focused on my side of the business. But that's not how it started.
Yeah, you were wearing all hats.
Yeah, so now with my side of the business really being the creative side, the content creation side, that whole thing. I get up in the morning, take on my morning routine, which can last a couple hours if I give myself proper time. I also wake up weird. So I don't use an alarm clock, but I'm typically up between 3 and 5.
Yeah, that's a random time, 3 and 5.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm up. I got tired of fighting it a long time ago, so now I just get up and start my day. I don't have a real job, so who gives a shit if it's 3 a.m.?
Yeah.
I'm not going to a place that I need people to be at. It's great. I have now a bunch of hours before the world gets to me.
Now I want to describe what you have. You have a studio called Dope.
Division of Performance Enhancement.
Yeah, you made yourself, which is a gym. It's got a cold plunge, has your office, your studio. It's kind of like your little spaceship, as you call it.
Yeah, Fantasy Factory, right? It's my, for sure, creative office studio place I'm the most stoked to be. So I've got the gym there. So I get up in the morning, I leave, head there, and usually spend an hour or so doing cardio, just kind of a steady state zone 2 cardio. That's what provides like biggest cardiovascular benefits, that provides more endurance, provides all the big health marker changes, is zone 2 cardio. So I do an hour of that, and I typically will watch a documentary or a podcast or something new, inspiring I don't know about or I'm interested in, because I kind of want the brain to start turning on something new. What I don't want to do is wake up, get on the bike, and just get mindless again, and just caught in the same bullshit, zoned out. I want to turn on. So after I finish cardio, I'm probably pretty bored with whatever that thing is. So I move to getting in the sauna.
What you do for an hour?
Yeah, I spend about an hour in the sauna at like 167. It's an infrared. And then I listen to an audiobook typically in the sauna, or a podcast.
Yeah, something you've been working on.
Something else, right? Yeah. And then I'll journal while in the sauna. And I really like that. I like how much that slows my brain down to write.
In there, the just silence.
All of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just all of it. Just the being very present, slightly uncomfortable, thinking about a thing. And it also feels good. Like I know I'm taking steps toward being better that are, it's a choice, right? Like I'm choosing this because I believe it makes me better. And if it's a thing that makes me better, then it's non-negotiable. I'm going to do it. And then I wrap up after the sauna with 3 minutes in the cold tub doing breath work, and I get out and start my day.
So maybe not everybody would start their day like that. I like a morning routine where you read a little bit, challenge yourself a little bit, maybe meditation, sauna. Sauna has changed my world the last few years. The thought for most people to get up and spend, call it 3 hours of their morning, right? And I'm talking to you, the viewer. How much would you love to start your day similar to how Matt just described? A lot of people, but they don't want to take the risk. They don't want to take the leap of faith, and you did so. You left the corporate job. I don't know if you want to talk about how much you were making, but you left a good income.
Yeah, I left a outside sales job I'd been at a long time, with company truck and all of the other things. I'm making 170, 180 grand a year.
Yeah, so a lot of people would be happy with that income. And
I was.
And you said, I want to find more freedom now.
Yeah, but I also wanted to do the other thing. Like I needed an outlet.
Hey,
like
I
I need something else that I'm into that isn't my job.
But don't you think most people who work for corporate America want to do something else probably besides what they're doing?
Totally. I don't know anyone who wants to go do a job they dislike every day, or a job that they tolerate every day. I know that I just didn't want to spend days doing things out of obligation. And, it wasn't the intention of starting the apparel company or any of that, but once it kind of took off, oh yeah. I mean, I tried entrepreneurship right first out of college doing a bicycle shop. I wanted that freedom to be my own boss from jump. And I failed miserably and got out of it at 24 with, 50 or 60 grand in debt, and paid off a bunch of old bills and shitty credit, and took a real job for a long time. And
not to spend a ton of time on it, what was the one thing you learned most about that failure in the bike shop?
22-year-old me shouldn't probably be handling the business side of things. Isn't great. Also, running a business that's not making a lot of money is really hard.
Yeah.
Businesses that make money are easy to run.
Something for people to think about.
Yeah. I mean, look, I learned a ton from it. We opened a brick and mortar from scratch. I figured out the LLC stuff. I was able to cover a bunch of steps that seemed really complicated. And it made sense to me learning that like, oh shit, anything can be done. It's just steps to take. Just figure out the next positive move forward and do that one and deal with the next one when you get there. Don't look and overwhelm yourself with what step 200 is. Like if you want to start an apparel company, right? Like, don't consume yourself with day one of, well, what are the boxes going to look like? Let's sell a thing first.
Yeah, sell one.
Yeah. Worry about that next. How do you have designs? Do you have a name of a company? Do you have a purpose? Like, what's the mission behind it? The why are you doing it?
Yeah, what is your why?
For me, it changes. It's changed over time from making the most of my time in life to, a lot now. It's really switched into, I want to see people feel about their life how I do about mine. I want to help ignite that and realize that that's a real possibility, that if you want to live your life in a way that fulfills you, it's there. And if you're bored and not fulfilled, you do not have to continue doing that. You can change. You can make decisions. You can choose new things and learn new skills.
Go find your purpose.
Yeah, I think one of those quotes I really like is like, if you don't know your life's purpose should be finding it.
It's the truth. I told you I've had a pretty good amount of success in the financial world. Took myself from pretty poor to owning a nice home in a nice town with my family and having the ability to bring my wife home, but that wasn't fulfilling me. I enjoy what I do with a lot of my clients, and I try to work as hard as I can at it. But if I just did that the rest of my life, it was going to be completely unfulfilled, and I'm not a guy who can go on my deathbed and live with regret. Keaton said it the other night on a call that we did on my training for the pit. My coaching group is a pit. I'd love to get you in there.
Love chat.
It's just like, how do you not strive for exactly every single thing you want? You may not ever fully achieve it. How do you not strive for it? How do you not want to go after the life that you want to lead? And part of that, when I found Fireside, it really gave me a crystal clear picture of what my purpose was. People who were like me, who grew up like me, who think like me, I could challenge them to think differently because I thought differently in their shoes. And until I matured, until I looked internally, until I removed parts of my ego. And again, that's, as you know, ego is not easy to completely remove.
I don't know that fully removing it is the goal.
Use it right.
Like I think the ego is still the part of me that wants progress and wants to win. But I don't want any of the ego that gets in the way of saying, sorry, I fucked that up. Because if I can't have the awareness to say I fuck stuff up, I can't learn.
Yeah, you won't ever grow.
You can't. It doesn't work. You already know everything. It's really hard to learn when you already know everything.
Yeah.
The more you realize you're a moron, it's super easy to learn.
Yeah, very quickly.
Trying like hell.
Yeah. And it's okay to be a moron and start things. That's the other thing. I talk to people on a weekly basis that hit me up through the DM, and they're like, Ryan, I have this idea and that idea and this idea and that idea, and it's a reoccurring theme. I'm sure you hear the same shit. It's like, dude, just take action on one of them.
You have to take action.
Just take action. Like, you may fall into something better 6 months from now because you took action on that one thing.
Yeah, the paralysis through analysis thing crushes people. You'll just sit there and look and learn and keep building information and start trying to build expectations of how you think it's going to go, and this isn't the right time. I need it to be this. It's never going to be the right time. It's never going to feel comfortable. At some point, you got to jump. And once you jump, understand that, like, as an entrepreneur, your only real job is problem solve.
Aren't you uncomfortable, like, with what you're doing? Like, these people I reference, they hate their job, they hate their coworkers, they hate their bosses, they hate the field that they are in. It has turned them into a miserable person in almost 18 hours of their day. Because once they come home, they need
Yeah, but they've checked all the boxes that said they're supposed to be happy and successful.
Yeah, but once you know you're not, I don't get why you don't want to go take the leap of faith and jump into anything but what you're doing if it's not making you happy.
Yeah, we don't, you know? And I know, like what you said about the guys, that you can look back and have empathy for the person you were before in that mindset
how
and
I
in that
treated
role,
them.
right? You know, I think about who I was before it kind of opened my eyes that I could do whatever I wanted, that I had the confidence, right? That I had this thing from sports that I'd learned that hard work over a decade will get me the thing I want. So now the rule is, like, cool, it takes 10 years.
Yeah.
So we better start.
Yeah, it's total 10 years.
And you're gonna suck.
Yeah.
Like, that's part of it. Be bad at shit. That's
What was
the
your
only
first
way to get
year
better.
of apparel sales?
In 2014, we opened like in October. So fourth quarter 2014, we did 15 grand. And that's books and apparel is everything.
So what about the whole next annual year?
112,000.
So great.
gross.
So now I'm 3/4 of a way to your salary with the oil company.
Yeah, with, you know, whatever the profit margin at the time being, right?
I'm
So,
just
like,
trying to give people a visual on
for
how
sure.
they could bridge that gap.
Yeah. Now, with that said, right, like, I started making content that got us to the point to launch an apparel brand that did $100,000 in 2008.
Correct. You did things that weren't making you a ton of money.
I
and you
didn't know I
monetized
was
it later.
launching an apparel brand.
Yes.
I wanted to create. I wanted to take action and do this thing because it brought me happiness and fulfillment to do it.
Correct. Now,
And I have parents and people around me that are positive and are great influences and believe in taking risk and trying to do stuff. A lot of people don't have it. They got parents that only believe you'll fuck up and fail, and people that have only told them there'll be failures. Like, those are huge obstacles to overcome.
well, that's only because that's what the parents know too, or the
Generational,
yeah,
right?
it's that
that's
limiting belief.
It's tough.
There's
It's
a- there-
fucking really tough to break that and
There
get
was a
self-confidence.
stupid reel I sold the other day, but it made a ton of sense. It was like, I think he was some type of scientist, and they had fleas, and they put a lid on the fleas on the container, and the fleas were jumping out prior to the lid. Once the lid was on, I think it was after 3 weeks only, and they removed the cap, the fleas would not jump higher than the lid, and it was no longer on. And now generational, they create new fleas in there, and now those new fleas have no ability
To jump.
to jump
You're right.
at all.
Yeah.
So if there's one thing that I can do for somebody that is one person that comes through your following, Bonnie's following, or anybody attached to you that's going to share this podcast, one thing, I want to tell you that you can fucking do it no matter where you come from. I didn't grow up in the worst conditions, but trust me, I was not in the best
Sure.
by a long shot.
And
You could do anything you want to do. You just got to take the action on it. And I'm not saying it's, easy,
fucking nothing's easy.
Nothing's
Neither is
easy.
settling for a fucking life you don't love.
and neither is, just falling victim to everything that's been around you and you've watched that is not right.
Look, it's a really tough pill to swallow that if you don't like the position you're in, to admit that it's your fault for being there. It's really tough. But until you take accountability for that and realize it's on you, that means I can change it. But if I always think that there's a gatekeeper or someone else that's kept me from finding success and happiness, then I'm still waiting permission to get it.
Yeah.
When in fact, none of that's true, it's you. Like you're the gatekeeper. You're the one who's chose to keep yourself away from that. You're the one who's not living aware of the abundance that you currently have.
Yeah, you're not being disciplined and getting to your goals. I want to move.
Or you may not have goals.
Whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
But you could change your current situation. I want to move on further into your business. So what you discovered in connecting with your partner who was running your warehouse or doing your prints was like, hey, everything that we have learned through this process is like, maybe it's not best use of my time to stuff boxes full of t-shirts or stickers or the books. So you and a partner put together this warehouse to be a print as well as a packaging and shipping location. Talk about that.
That's in Topeka, Kansas. That's my partner, Phil. Now, Phil has run a print shop and marketing solutions company. So they've printed pins and all the other type of marketing things that would ever exist, right? He's done that for a long time, family-wise. And so whenever I launched everything, he knew me through another friend and he was like, hey man, you should sell shirts. You know, I could take care of shipping those for you. And I was like, so you mean I just come up with an idea and like I don't have to do any of the other part of it? Because all I could see was like now one room in my fucking house has shirts in it.
Yeah.
And I'm traveling so much to compete plus work. Like who's putting these in the boxes? I don't have time.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, I can do all that. I'm like, oh, okay. So we made a shirt design. We launched a pre-order, got like 40 orders or 100 orders in 2 weeks, printed those shirts at relatively a 50% margin. Now we have stock. We made more shirts and take no money home. Now we have things to sell. And that's where we start. But Phil eliminated that side of the business. And so as we've grown, I've bought into Phil's business and we own the print shop there now. And we've taken on handling the printing and fulfillment and merch and customer service now for probably like 10 other brands. And for me, that was a really great way to give back. Like if you've got the creative thing and can make stuff and come up with content and market it, don't sweat this side of the business.
Yeah. So let's just say, Ryan, for Fireside, which we did a hot hoodie drop, they pretty much all of them went, which was really cool. Thank you for everybody. But I've always have thought, hey, if this becomes a brand where I'm helping people and we're creating a community, it's our tribe, whatever you want to describe it as, there's going to be a vertical of apparel somewhere. And I do, coin myself a creative guy in many aspects. So if I'm the company and I want to go create a shirt, a hoodie, a hat, whatever it may be, I'm just going to connect with you.
You contact me, I would link you up with Phil or the team over there. We would figure out what blanks you want to use, what art do you have. I don't want to create designs for you.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? And this is what I mean compared to anyone. Like you would hook up with me, I'd contact you to Phil, figure out what blanks we want to use, we'd give you a price, you order, and we can ship them to you and you can ship them out again, or we can handle all the shipping fulfillment from there. We do both for people.
And you will do the customer service as well.
It makes sense that like the customer service happens at the place where your shit is.
Yeah, makes complete sense.
Yeah.
So let's just say from a percentage, what are you keeping, am I keeping of the profit? So
let's say we're going to use a top line shirt, 2-color print, something like that, just as a t-shirt. So you're looking at as color, something like that. You're probably $11 or $12 into a shirt. Shirts retail for $32.
So there's a nice profit there for you still.
Yeah, still tons of room.
So for those people who may be looking for that, are you guys taking on
Hell
new
yeah,
customers?
man, shoot me an email.
Yeah.
Matt@mattvincent.net.
Yeah.
I can handle making all your stuff.
And we'll drop everything in the...
Yeah, I love it, man. I've had friends be able to leave their regular jobs. I had a friend who left being a biomedical engineer to make stickers and sell shirts.
What is you're doing what, a few $1 million a year now with the apparel brand?
Yeah, we've done low 7 figures since 2017, and we, somewhere between 1.8 and 1.4 pretty consistently.
That's enough to allow you to live the life you want to live.
It's enough to buy me enough free time to pursue something else. Like I'm loyal to it. I love the brand and I love making stuff, but I'm progress driven too.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
my
you just
loyalties.
rebranded the whole Hey
and-
Brands underneath
and,
one.
And I think that allows us to create a bigger impact with the mentorship group and actually being able to, instead of it just being this totem for understanding a lifestyle, but if you want a more in-depth part of it, we're here. Like, I want to provide as much service for the audience as we can.
So talk a little bit more about your mentorship group.
Yep, Not Dead Yet Life. I mean, that goal is to help people find purpose and help people find drive and put action toward it. I really think that getting just about anything done is a 4-step process. There's inspiration, there's awareness, there's intention, and action. And if we can line all those up, we can get you pointed toward the thing you want and taking steps and making smart decisions and eliminating the bullshit of why you can't. Because if someone has ever before, it means it's possible.
Are you confident in that you're doing that?
Yes.
For the people coming into your group?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, you've said, hey, I got this 4-step process. Does that come from a lot of your own personal experience, your own mentors?
That comes from a bunch of my own experience built on what I'd learned from a bunch of mentors. You know, more with the awareness piece and journaling and doing all these type of things. And then, you know, the clearer I am on the direction I want to go, the better I can figure out the steps to get me there.
What do you think the best task is to get clear on where you want to go?
For me, journaling.
Yeah.
Journaling's
Do you
been
think that changes
a huge one.
for everybody?
I don't know if it changes for everyone. I know that it was really valuable for me for being able to build awareness of what I wanted, what I thought, and being able to kind of disassociate between feelings I have and who I am.
Mm-hmm. What I discovered with our newsletter was, wow, like, I'm actually pretty good at writing. This is kind of therapeutic where I really put down everything I'm doing, because this is not just business. This is not just money. This is like the evolution of myself and my journey, and then how I could turn around and help the next guy or girl who's walking through a similar life. Like, now my grammar may not be perfect, and my spelling may not be perfect. I have a copywriter for that. Shout out to Carly. But it really was therapeutic, and it really allowed me to find more vision in what I wanted to do with the pit and what I wanted to do with, you know, the whole entire enterprise.
And it's the same thing I've noticed. And it is part of what I try to teach as kind of a first step of being able to at least learn to communicate with yourself to figure out what it is you want. Mm-hmm. Because if we don't have a purpose and we don't have a direction, I don't have actionable steps to give you.
Yes.
You know, the quote is, all winds are bad with no port in mind. Mm-hmm. So you're just spending energy. I want to make sure that you're spending your energy on the thing you said was important.
Yeah, you work backwards from your wants.
And the awareness of, if I'm beating myself up over not getting a thing done, then my actions reflect that it's probably not important to me. I should move the fuck on and find something that is. Mm-hmm. Not continue to do that because allegedly it's supposed to be great for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't work for me, move on.
Yeah, do I care about it? Is it working for my body? Is it working for my mind? Yeah.
You know, and if it's not important to you, stop pretending it is. Because all that matters are the actions you take.
I could not agree more.
You know, that you are nothing more than the things you choose to consistently do every day.
It's just a daily tasks that add up to the week. Like I was talking about the compound effect, great book. Like those minute actionable steps that are not like, all right, I'm coming out the gates and I got to lose 100 pounds and now I see Mount Everest in front of me. That shuts down most people.
Yeah, it sucks, man. Look,
one foot in front of the other.
We're
Take action.
also a culture that loves big winning millionaires and home runs and Hail Mary passes.
Yeah, none of it is that.
We're not a culture that's like grind and figure it out.
Yeah, but that's what it really is, though. It is grind and figure it out.
For everyone.
Yeah, for everyone.
There isn't a way around it. Like, there's no way to get stronger without that part, right? Like, if you want to ask me, hey man, what do you recommend I do to get stronger? I recommend you bench press, squat, deadlift, and overhead press something moderately heavy once a week for the next decade.
Yeah. A lot of people,
it'll take care of it.
A lot of people can't, like...
That's fucking hard to wrap your head around. Like, what do you mean? That's it? Yeah, that's it. You want to lose weight? Eat less calories than you eat, you know, or burn more calories than you eat.
Yeah, but I like
it's
this
a math
and
equation.
I like that and this
Well,
and that.
That's not what you asked me.
Yep.
Do you want a happy answer, or do you want truth?
Yep.
If it's not important to you, quit giving a shit.
Yeah, I love truth.
I like things I can't argue with, right? Like, that's one of the reasons the keto diet worked for me whenever I needed to drop weight, was I'm tricky, man. I'll fucking try to weasel my way out of shit. Mm-hmm. And like, that's why I built my own place, because I won't go to a commercial gym.
Yeah, why?
I just don't like it.
Makes you feel a certain way?
I just don't like it. Mm-hmm. I like training by myself. I've never understood training for the general health thing. And so I thought I trained by myself for all those years competing because it was really convenient. While it is, I also just like the alone time.
Yeah.
I like being in my head. I like the thinking about what I'm doing and getting that kind of meditation space while my body's busy. That really helps the ADD for me. If I can kind of put this thing on autopilot to take care of a task, this gets to kind of wander.
Yeah, totally understand that.
Fully. You know, that helps me a lot, so I create that now.
And you create a total environment that you love, which I just talked about it. I'm probably going to be building a $1 million facility that allows me, my friends, the people I'm working with, the pit, the Fireside, my financial company, to operate out of, while also having fun and having all those things that make me better as a person, make me better as somebody who's helping others. The sauna, the cold plunge, the gym right there. I just think that's something that inspires me, and if it's something that makes me better every day, you know, and again, it doesn't have to be that big facility. I've been operating out of my garage.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I have a little Costco pads. I got a Peloton bike.
No, this is like the 4th version of my gym.
Yeah, like this is just like, you could start small. It doesn't have to be big.
Mine started with $340 on Craigslist.
Yeah.
And one of the worst barbells and squat racks I've ever seen.
Yeah, I way overpaid for my dumbbells during COVID.
I probably way overpaid for mine as well.
So rolling to an end here, I like to ask 2 questions. First question being, if you can leave an entrepreneur or someone searching for what you found, freedom and living how you want to live, what's the one thing you would tell them to start with?
Getting as clear as possible on like what you want that direction to be. You know, and if whether that's figuring out what you want your life in 5 years to look like, and then backwards engineering it to figure out what steps it is to get there, but it's being very clear on what the steps are, or what skills do you need to develop to do that job. Start learning them.
And I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. That doesn't mean paralysis by analysis. You could say in 5 years, I want to have this house in this town with this family, or whatever it is that you desire. And it just starts with taking steps to get there. Like, your vision is, I want that. That doesn't mean you need to know the vehicle that gets you there.
Nope, you can build the vehicle on the way there.
You can build the vehicle on the way there.
I mean, all of this to me feels like building an airplane while I'm flying it.
Yeah, well, it is.
Right.
What the fuck do I know about podcasts?
I mean, other giving entrepreneur advice. I know you feel like you don't know what you're doing, and it's because you don't. Yeah. And nor does anyone else.
Nobody does.
Everyone growing and building and doing a business that you're interested in has been on the cusp of holy shit for as long as they can remember. Mm-hmm. That's the sweet spot. That's where everyone lives. If you don't think that's for you, it may not be.
Yeah, you gotta be willing to live on the edge of financial ruins, you know, stress.
Look, it's the difference in, like, if you're a gambler, like, would you play blackjack or you play slots? Because if you're into just putting the money in the thing and pulling the slot machine and not really being an active participant, we don't line up.
Yeah.
At least blackjack, I feel like I'm in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are in the game.
Right? I want the ball.
You're the man
want to
in the
make
arena.
decisions. Pass, fail, I'll take the heat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another thing. You know, recently I've heard some people chatter in my world that were like, you know, don't put yourself out there, and you shouldn't talk about your goals, and why would you put yourself out there for people to see your failures? Like, what?
What failures?
I want you to see they're all wins to me because I'm growing, and someone else is watching my journey and it's helping them, and this is a cool ass story I can monetize.
But there's a lot of people are scared.
Don't share your wins. Don't share your shit. Keep it to yourself. Be humble. Like, fuck you.
Feel the same way, man. Look, if you're not going to be into your thing, no one else is going to be.
No, I think you're soft if you don't want to do it, in my opinion. You're afraid of the criticism.
I'm in love with my life and my dream and what I get to create and the community I get to build and the people that I want to surround myself with.
Yes.
no one's ever allowed to be more into my thing than me. It doesn't work if they are.
Yeah.
Then it's not my thing anymore. Right? So if you're waiting for someone else to give a fuck about your dreams more than you do,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no one cares.
It ain't gonna fucking happen.
No one cares.
No one gives a shit.
No one cares. Second question. And again, this could be fully nationally. Both of us do things on social media. Give us 2 companies or 2 individuals that you want to give a shout out to their brand, what they've done as a business and the human.
Man, 2. Keaton Hoskins, what turned me on to you, so big shout out to Keaton. Keaton's been an incredible friend, incredible guy to be around.
We're both going to be at his event.
Yeah, changed my life. You know what I mean? Like being around that guy has done nothing but improve the quality of my life.
He creates a wake in a good way, right?
It's cool, man.
Yeah, he's an incredible dude.
Big shout out to Keaton and Rob and the rest of that group. Outside of that would be, that family of people at On It. Aubrey Marcus and Kyle Kingsbury and Eric Godsey and that whole group there. Those 2 groups of people have had the biggest impact on the last 10 years of my life. And I find myself very comfortably somewhere in the middle of those 2 roads.
Yeah.
And I like that spot.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being in the middle of anything, right?
It's where I want to be.
Yeah.
Right? It's my road.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And actually, to go back to Keaton quick, him and Rob have an event in January 19th, couple weeks. I think they still have some tickets left, so.
They are, and they open an act.
Yeah.
Coming out.
Opening act.
Opening act. That's speaking at the last one Keaton had was fun. That's as anxious as I've been before doing anything in a long time.
Yeah, it's scary shit.
Look, it's one thing, like let's say this scenario. Like it's a very low anxiety thing, right? Like you've invited me here, you've done some research, know who I am, we're talking about things I'm very familiar with.
Yeah.
That's a group of people that didn't pay to be in that room to hear me.
Yeah, so like, do they want to hear me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I got
Is my message going to come
that
across?
I've got to hammer my shit and win. It's one thing to walk out and be Tom Segura to a crowd that's paid a bunch of money to see Tom Segura. You've built that repertoire. But coming out as the opening act, like, you got to fucking own.
You're going to kill.
You got to set the tone. You've got to
You're gonna
give
kill
it hell. I'm excited about it.
It's special that Keaton wants you there. Was the Ed Milet's of the world, the Andy Fricillo, the Brad
Honored,
Williams, all these people that we're doing the VIP event with too. So
Yeah, believe
can't wait
me,
to get
it's
out there
super
with you.
surreal. You want to talk about imposter syndrome? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing in that room.
Yeah, neither do I. But I'm going.
It's great though, man.
Well, dude, this has been fun, man. I appreciate the way that you take on life. I appreciate the way that you constantly challenge yourself. You inspire me. And I said to you earlier, not dead yet, I think means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. To me, quickly following you, it was like, yeah, like I have X amount of weeks left in my life. And also like put yourself in that fire every day to move, right? Weight loss, I've done and lost 100 pounds, but I've gained, call it 50% of that back. I need to get that back off. It's been something on my mind, and it's just get up and move and
Chip away at it every day, man.
All the things you've been through.
Favorite people, John Wellborn is a strength coach, runs a company, power athlete. John has a thing called move dirt, right? Like that's what your life is. You're moving dirt. Some days you got a backhoe and other days you got a spoon. But you still got to move fucking dirt.
Yep.
The pile's never going away. Jobs move dirt. And that's it. Keep making progress, whether I get a spoon today or if I get the backhoe.
chop, chop, chop.
I know some days when I feel like the backhoe is at hand, and those days are great fun. And I've had plenty of days that it's like, all right, everything's going poorly. What can I not fuck up?
Yeah.
I bet I could sweep the house without fucking that up. That'll be a positive win. Like, start building momentum back. Do shit you can't fuck up.
Yeah.
Build the momentum back and keep winning.
That's great advice. Dude, again, thank you.
Dude, love being here, man. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming out.